For Amanda Eller, a 3-hour hike turned into the worst 17 days of her life. In fact, they would have been the last 17 days of her life had it not been for her resourceful skills and a timely rescue. So why, after her ordeal, was she left apologizing to the world? Amanda Eller hadn't been to the Makawao Forest Reserve in Maui in several months. In fact, she rarely visited the reserve. But on May 8, 2019, she went on a hike there, not realizing she might not make it out alive. Eller assumed she'd go on a 3-mile hike and then come back in a few hours. In fact, she felt so safe that she even left her cell phone and wallet in her car. The reason behind her logic was simple: she didn't want anything distracting her run through nature. The 35-year-old yoga instructor, physical therapist, tried jogging for a bit, but then decided to just walk. Halfway through her journey, she sat down to meditate, but that's when she felt disoriented and lost her way. Eller had no idea how to get back to her car. At that point, she started to panic. A part of her even wanted to give up. Fortunately, she had an epiphany and she realized she needed to cool down and gather her thoughts. But first, she had to figure out how to get back to civilization. Eller fell off a cliff about 20 feet and lost her shoes in a flash flood. Her injuries forced her to crawl back. Over the course of 17 days, an exhausted Eller had lost all hope of finding rescues. She drank water from the river and ate any wild fruits and plants she could find. She even slept in a wild boar's den. On May 24, Javier Cantelips, Chris Berquist, and Troy Helmers spotted Eller in a creek bed from their rescue helicopter. Despite her injuries, she was alert and very surprised to see 3 of the hundreds of volunteers who had been searching for her. Eller was taken to Maui Memorial Medical Center, where she was treated for an orthopedic fracture, a skin infection and some burns she sustained in the forest. While on the mend, she created a Facebook video to share her personal ordeal. Eller felt like she had a lot of things to apologize for. For starters, she called it irresponsible that she had called her 17-day ordeal a spiritual journey in the beginning. A few online commenters had given her a hard time for taking things so lightly. But there was one other thing she felt sorry for. Eller said she had not meant to make what she went through seem so casual. She also wanted to clarify that she had not been under the influence of any drugs during her journey. Eller's disappearance led to a major rescue attempt consisting of a helicopter team and hundreds of volunteers, and she felt really sorry for the mess she caused. She realized people put their lives on the line to go look for her deep in the forest. Despite some criticism, Eller's story of survival caught the attention of people around the globe. It's pretty hard not to admire a resourceful person who used elements in nature to stay alive long enough to be rescued. Eller's decision to not bring her cell phone or equip proper gear was a mistake from which she hopes other hikers will learn before taking their own journeys in the Maui forests. But for some, this advice came too late. Although Eller's story had a happy ending, the same could not be said for hiker Noah Kake Mina, who went missing in the West Maui forest on May 20th. Rescuers spent little over a week looking for Noah. It turned out he was 18 miles from where Amanda Eller was found. The Bring Kake Home GoFundMe page was set up by his family in hopes of raising enough money to fuel the search effort. The page managed to raise $61,091. But sadly, there wasn't enough money to help Mina. The 35-year-old was spotted by rescuers 9 days after he went missing 300 feet below the fall line of Mauna Kahalawai. Rescue efforts turned into recovery efforts when they found his body. But at least someone knew he was missing, unlike this next hiker who seemingly vanished into thin air. Victoria Grover, 59, traveled from northern Maine where she resided to southern Utah to go hiking. She got some directions for an interesting trail she found on the map and told the front desk at her guest lodge she'd be back by 8 or 9 o'clock that night. But she didn't. Victoria was ecstatic as she explored the Box Death Hollow wilderness and its red rock cliffs and canyons. But then it got dark as she headed back to her car and she panicked. So she walked faster and wound up skidding about 4 feet towards a 20 to 30 foot cliff. Despite the fall, she made it through the night and headed back when the sun rose. But she lost her footing, fell sideways and shattered the bones in her lower left leg. She created a makeshift splint for her leg, but had to drag and scoot her way towards a nearby stream. She was lost for 5 days until a search helicopter saw her and took her to the hospital. She called her husband, and that's when he told her no one was looking for her because no one even knew she was missing. But how would a child have fared in her situation? In 2015, Malachi Bradley was hiking near Paul Lake with his family. But the 10-year-old little boy strayed from his folks to find wild mushrooms to cook with a fish he had caught earlier that day. Then he got lost. Bradley hid within the rocks to avoid the strong nightly winds that are so common in Utah's high Uintas wilderness. Thankfully, his dad had taught him how to survive in the wild. The little boy's survival skills came in handy, as he was able to withstand the weather while a search and rescue operation went looking for him. Bradley heard a helicopter flying overhead and headed towards a clearing where he could be easily seen. The helicopter rescued the grateful but starving child and returned him to his anxious family. But at least he didn't have to do what this next lady did to survive. New Zealander, British citizen Claire Nelson was on holiday in California, but instead of enjoying her time off, she wound up fighting for her life after she broke her pelvis. She had fallen from a boulder while she was hiking at Joshua Tree National Park and was desperate for help. She couldn't move and had no signal to call for help. So, she turned a walking stick and a plastic bag into a makeshift umbrella to keep herself safe from the sun. But to avoid dehydration, she had to drink her own urine, and at one point, she prepared for the worst. Her friends hadn't heard from Nelson in so long that they reached out to authorities. Thankfully, a search team spotted Nelson's hiking stick and t-shirt waving to get their attention. As she recovered in the hospital, she joked on Twitter how people focused way too much on what she did to stay hydrated. If you enjoyed this story, wait for our next story starting in 10 seconds. Have you heard of Stepan the bear? Even if not, there's a good chance you've seen this gentle giant's photos. But was it really the right call when a Russian couple adopted a bear? Or was it only a matter of time before they had their last meal together? Svetlana and Yuri Pantelenko may seem like a typical Russian couple. The Moscow residents eat dinner at the same table and watch TV together. They have a loving relationship, and enjoy doing pretty much everything together. But their son is a different story. Like most couples, the Pantelenkos decided to expand their family, and they were so glad they did. Now, they have a son named Stepan who's in his 20s. But let's just say, he's anything but ordinary. Stepan is the kind of son that most parents dream of. He helps around the house and waters the plants in the garden. But he has a bit of a sweet tooth, which he simply can't ignore, and neither can his parents. For their sake. After all, Stepan isn't your average 20-year-old. Stepan's favorite dish is a can of condensed milk. With a couple of slurps, he'll lick a bowl full of porridge clean in less than no time. But the Pantelenkos know they have to keep his hunger in check, or else. You just never know when something could go wrong, right? Dinner at the Pantelenkos can be a real mouthful. Besides porridge, Stepan consumes 25 kilograms of vegetables, eggs, and fish. But he still manages to look some for his size. But how does he do it? It helps that this big boy is a major football fan. Tossing the old pigskin in the backyard with his old man keeps his weight in check. It's hard to believe the Pantelenkos nearly missed their shot of being Stepan's parents, and we mean that literally. As you probably figured out by now, Stepan isn't the Pantelenkos' biological kid. They adopted this beautiful creature when he was 3 months old, and it was a good thing they did, or he might never have survived alone. Today, his life is so much better. And his true nature remains in check. Or does it? His parents love to brag about how talented he is, and who could blame them? But if eating was also a talent, Stepan would be the ultimate winner. He loves a good picnic, and his adoptive parents often wonder how he hasn't gobbled them out of house and home. Spending some quality time with the family is as important to Stepan as it is to his parents. They're like the perfect little family who loves to read books, play chess, and takes tons of selfies. But are the Pantelenkos doing more harm than good? A lot of people seem to think so. Stepan loves performing like the big boy that he is. But some people have criticized the quirky Russian couple for ignoring their son's true nature. And they may have a very valid point. As a grown-up, Stepan should have been doing things like looking for a mate, or foraging through the forest instead of posing with models and officiating at weddings. But Stepan might feel differently. Most of us wouldn't feel comfortable sitting at a table with a 300-pound bear for dinner, because he would obviously make us his meal. But the Pantelenkos enjoyed many dinners with their adoptive son without a single scratch. Then again, he owed them his life. Hunters had taken Stepan's mother from him, and at just 3 months, he faced the same danger. That's when the Russian couple adopted Stepan and changed his life forever. However, it was only a matter of time before he outgrew his human family. Stepan is over 7 feet tall, but he's totally domesticated, so he often sits down with the Pantelenkos to watch TV at night and spend some quality time together. And they never have to worry about his temperament either. Like most parents, the couple has learned to gauge their adoptive son's temperament. He's always so gentle and loves to cuddle with them on the couch. But is his presence unbearable sometimes? You'd never expect a bear and a couple of humans to get along this well. But the bond was formed at an early age when Stepan was in really bad condition. So, it makes sense that he warmed up to his folks. And now, he's just a loving ball of fur. Granted, he's a 300-pound ball of fur. But could he ever use his impressive build to hurt the people who raised him? Bears get a bad rap for being aggressive, and with good reason. Wild bears are supposed to be aggressive if they feel threatened. That's the only way to guarantee they'll live another day. But Stepan has proven people wrong. His human family assures everyone that he has never bitten them, not even as a child. But would you leave your kid alone with him? Stepan has become so popular that his family has allowed him to cuddle up to children in the woods for sporadic photo shoots. But this isn't the only photo of Stepan hanging with a youngster. Stepan doesn't mind if human children want to pose or frolic around him. He's happy to show how well behaved he is. It's a testament to his some upbringing. And now, he's nothing but a real Care Bear. We're not exactly sure if this is recognized by the law, but this Russian couple decided to get married anyway, and they had Stepan officiate at their outdoor wedding. But this has really given people something to think about. Regardless of how the Pantalinkos have nurtured Stepan, the fact of the matter is, he's still a bear. But this hasn't stopped people, particularly in Russia, from exploiting these creatures. And it's ruffling some feathers. Lisa Wathney, captive exotic animal specialist and spokesperson for the Humane Society of the U.S., told Cosmopolitan, "It's truly disturbing and certainly dangerous for the people involved and absolutely not in the best interest of the bear." So, did the Pantalinkos delude themselves? Many things could have gone wrong when the Russian couple adopted a bear. But much to everyone's surprise, nothing actually happened. And for over 20 years, Stepan lived among them as a human. In many ways, Stepan has proven over and over again that he's beyond trustworthy. But was this a dangerous move or a selfish one? Wathney explained the obvious reasons why adopting Stepan was a bad idea. Obviously, this bear is a huge animal, he's a wild animal, despite this couple's claim. Having a bear live in your home is not how an animal is domesticated. But it's hard to argue with the results. Some of the kids Stepan posed with were terrified at first, but they soon realized he was just a big old teddy bear. We doubt many kids would ever refuse a bear hug. The Pantalinkos sure couldn't.